Hello, I'm Luke Perraton, and welcome to the Physio Foundations podcast. I'm really happy that you've chosen to click on this video or listen to this podcast, and I really hope that you'll join me on your personal and professional development journey as a clinician, as a physiotherapist over the years. So this is a podcast about the knowledge and skills that provide the foundation of expert physiotherapy or clinical practice. So the podcast is not just for physiotherapists. Other types of clinicians are going to find value in what I'm talking about as well. But the episodes are going to come from my perspective as a physiotherapist and as a physiotherapy educator and the perspectives of my guests. So why is the podcast called Physio Foundations? Well, you need solid foundations to be successful at anything. And as a clinician, you need to build on your foundations throughout your career. And when you focus your attention on building solid foundations in anything over time, this is what allows you to develop expertise. So there are a lot of podcasts already about expert clinical practice. The focus is often on cutting edge content presented by an expert. And the emphasis is often the things that you need to be doing, or the things you need to add to your practice or stop doing if you want to be an expert as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm coming at this specifically as a clinician and an educator, and specifically as an educator who works in the first year of a Bachelor of Physiotherapy course, where the focus is developing those fundamental or foundational skills in students. And these are the skills that students will build upon throughout their whole career. So for you as a clinician or a student or even a fellow educator, I'm going to try to bring you content that offers you real value in terms of developing your own foundations. And developing your foundations is something that you need to proactively do throughout your career, starting as a student and as a new graduate clinician and then as an expert clinician later on. So Physio Foundations is about the foundational knowledge and foundational skills that underpin expert clinical practice. But don't make the mistake of thinking that foundational means basic or easy or something that you learn once and then you progress to the next level. Your foundations are what you use every day to be an expert. So we're going to be going deep on many topics on this podcast. So for example, I'm going to have whole episodes on foundations of communication. So how you can develop specific aspects of your communication with patients. We'll have episodes on how to provide explanations and demonstrations to patients from an education and a clinical perspective. Because these are foundational skills that will allow you to deliver the high quality patient education that everyone knows is so important. So we assume that if we have knowledge, that we can pass on that knowledge to people. And if we understand it, they understand it. But that is quite an assumption. And it does take skill to deliver high quality education. So we're going to have whole episodes on that. I'm going to have episodes on things to consider when giving warnings to patients. It's a very specific topic there. There's going to be episodes that are focused on your own personal development as a clinician or as a student. And we'll get experts in to guide you on how you can be strategic and strategically plan your career as a clinician. It can be really useful stuff. I'll have episodes that come from an education perspective that focus on how to learn as a student and as a clinician, as an adult. So this is something that's often said is not taught enough. And that's something that's really left up to you as a student and as an adult learner to figure out, how do you learn? And once again, that's something that can be taught and that you can learn from others, learning how to learn. And I hope that really adds some value that you may not have got elsewhere. I'll also have episodes that are more focused on your patient outcomes and conditions. So probably more the type of episodes you're used to hearing in podcasts from physios. So for example, I have episodes on clinical decision making, physical examination skills, exercise programming, prescription, patient education, behavior change, and using evidence in your practice. And if we find ourselves talking about a specific condition that you aren't that interested in, or you don't see very often as a clinician, you'll find that the underlying messages of the episode are still valuable to you. So it's going to be the thinking and the clinical decision-making that'll be the key message. And you'll be able to apply that thinking to your own patients and your own context. I'll also have episodes on foundational knowledge in anatomy, biomechanics, physiology, evidence-based practice to help you brush up on your knowledge and then give you tips on how to remember and apply this knowledge. And these are the same tips that we give to students when we teach. So a really important part of your foundations is your knowledge. And then there'll be guests. So with the help of guests, I'll explore specific clinical problems and topics in cardiothoracic, neurological, pediatric, geriatric, women's health, sports, occupational physio, you name it. Any other field of physio or healthcare that's relevant to a physiotherapist's professional development or career, we'll be talking about it. And it'll take time. So over time, I'll be building up the depth and breadth of the episodes and the guests on the podcast. It'll be something for everyone. So you can learn so much by stepping outside of your own field of interest. And if you do identify as a specific type of student or a clinician, I encourage you to try some different things. Dig into some of these episodes on different topics and try to add some depth to your knowledge and your foundations as a clinician. So the aim is to keep the discussions and the topics broad and of interest to a wide range of clinicians and students inside and outside of the physiotherapy profession. I want to make a resource that you can use to reflect on the many different aspects of your practice and something that will be valuable and helpful to you. Rather than just being a summary of information and things to do, the focus will be on you and your own personal and professional development and your journey as a clinician. So the format of the podcast will be a combination of solo episodes from me, like this one, and interviews with guests. And I've got some really good guests lined up. You're going to love it. Stay tuned, stick around, and you're going to learn a lot from these people. So a quick word about me. As of the start of 2022, I've worked as a physiotherapist and a physiotherapy educator and researcher for 20 years. So I've just turned 20. I've got qualifications in sports and exercise physiotherapy and musculoskeletal physiotherapy as a master's and titled by the Australian Physiotherapy Association. And I did my PhD and postdoctoral research on the knee, biomechanics and function of the knee joint. So that's my special interest area. But as you've been hearing, if you've made it this far, my main passion is physiotherapy education and research. And I really want to share that with you. And I definitely won't be doing every episode on the knee, even though I'd like to do that. It'll be a lot broader than that. So I work in the physiotherapy department at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, at the Peninsula campus. So the Peninsula campus is located in Frankston, which is in the southeast of Melbourne. It's down on the edge of Port Phillip Bay. And I'm very lucky to work with friends and colleagues from many different areas of physiotherapy. It's a pretty exciting place to work in that regard. And I can seek inspiration from lots of different types of people for what I'll be talking about on the podcast, and hopefully get lots of them on as guests. So we'll have no shortage of guests and fun things to talk about. And about me personally, for the last 15 years, I've been married to the other half of Perraton Physio, Susanna Perraton, nee Susanna Mahotka. And Susanna and I have just moved down to Mount Eliza, which is close to the Peninsula campus, Monash University, down on the beach. So we're very happy and can't wait to see where we go from there. So even though I work at Monash University, the podcast is hosted through me, through us at Perraton Physio. And I'm going to be writing and recording and producing and promoting episodes outside of my time at Monash as a passion project of mine. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I won't be making any money from it. I won't be running ads. I won't be asking you to sign up to things. So it's all free to you, and I hope really valuable. The way you can pay me is to simply do what everybody asks you to do when you listen to their content online. Go and hit the like button or share the episode with people who you think would enjoy it or would need to hear it. So you can share it on social media, share it to friends. If you prefer watching things, you can find Physio Foundations episodes on the Perraton Physio YouTube channel. Just Google Perraton Physio YouTube and it pops up. And if you found these episodes on YouTube and you want to listen when you're out and about, head to your favorite podcast player and look up Physio Foundations. And you can also check out our website, perraton.physio, where you can find our blog and more information about topics and links to everything. So that URL is perraton.physio. And I don't know if there are any other physios who are Perratons out there or Perratons who are physios in the world. But if you are and you found me here, drop me a line and say hello. So once again, welcome to the Physio Foundations podcast. If you become a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think of the episodes and share your own experiences and your own perspectives online, on social media, or even contact me directly on email. If you're a student or an educator at another university, it could be a physio course or another health professions course, doesn't matter. Love to hear from you as well. There are no trade secrets going to be spilled here. I'm not going to talk specifically about physiotherapy curriculum or get into conversations and debates with people online about curriculum and talk about things that should and shouldn't be taught at universities. This is all off limits because this podcast is going to be a friendly, safe place where clinicians and students and educators can share ideas about foundational physiotherapy knowledge and skills. So please get in touch with me. You can email me at luke@perraton.physio, or you can look up my Monash email address if you want to, or if you already use it. You can contact me on the Perraton Physio Facebook page, or send me a tweet at Perraton Physio, just one word, and I'll add these addresses and handles in the show notes. And what's coming up next? Coming up in the next episode, or the first real episode, is of the Physio Foundations podcast is Associate Professor Peter Maliaris from Monash University. And Pete's going to talk to us about the foundational knowledge and skills that helped him become an expert in tendinopathy and a leading researcher in the field. So this is a tendinopathy focused episode, but it's really about personal professional development, and you will find it interesting regardless of your field of interest. So have a listen to that one coming up next. It'll be really helpful for clinicians of all levels. So students, new grads, and experts. So don't miss it. And that's it. We're live. I hope you'll join me as a regular listener. Until next time, this is your host, Luke Perraton, wishing you all the very best with your studying, professional development, and lifelong learning.